Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the April meeting of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors Audit Committee. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that the Audit Committee meeting is being live streamed. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to call the April 9th, 2025 LCTCS Board of Supervisors Audit Committee meeting to order. First order of business will be the pledge of flag. Patrick, would you like to lead us?
Sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, do we have a roll call, Ms. Erica?
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to. Chair Salat
Here.
is present. Supervisor Hall
Present.
is present. Supervisor Hogan
Present.
is present. Supervisor Moody
Present.
is present. Supervisor Johnson
Present.
is present. And Chair Salat, we do have a quorum for the meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay, has there been, Ms. Erica, has there been any request for public comments relating to one of the enumerated agenda items on today's meeting agenda? This is a reminder that public comments must be related to a specific agenda item.
No, sir, we have not received any.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is to approve the minutes that were disseminated for December 11th and request a motion for such.
Motion by Supervisor Johnson. Second by Supervisor Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're moving to the action. Mr. Jeff Fleming to review the internal audit report and projects in progress, if you would, please, sir.
Thank you, Supervisor, and I want to appreciate everybody being here. First, I want to talk about some projects, reports that we issued since we last met in December. The first one is a financial aid review at Sowella Community College. This financial aid review isn't a full federal, doesn't replace a federal review where they go top to bottom on their financial aid work. What we do is we identify, well, the feds identify the top 10 findings annually that that their recipients are getting written up for. So what we do, we focus on those areas. So these are the problem areas. We have to optimize our time. We limit ourselves to those areas. And we pull a sample of items from each of those areas, and I'm happy to report that we found no issues at Sowella. Their financial aid folks were really on the ball, and my auditor who did the work said he was confident that they had a good handle on their financial aid processes. So it's a difficult area, and anytime I can issue a report with no findings in financial aid, I feel really good about it. The next report I want to talk about is disaster recovery in Nunez. What we've been doing with this disaster recovery review is we take the existing documentation that the college is providing and applying some best practices that we're relying on, kind of filling in the gaps. This isn't a project where I'm going out and saying, you're doing this wrong, here's a finding, tell me what you're going to do about it. It's really about a maturity process within their plan. So we find areas that need improvement, and we've offered those suggestions. And before we even leave the college and issue the report, they are already in the process of making those corrections. So for Nunez, we saw the same thing we saw at Fletcher, the business impact analysis, a little more effort on that end. So what the business impact analysis is, that's what is our prioritization? If a disaster strikes, what is our prioritization? You know, here's our day 1, day 10, day 30, get those in order. What are our objectives on our return to work timeframes? Again, doing it by business unit, and that way that can drive your disaster recovery plan, because once you do the business impact analysis, you might see, okay, well, our disaster recovery plan might not be focused in the right areas. So again, we gave the college some best practice information, and they've already started implementing, updating their business impact analysis. Another thing for the college that we found is they did not have a call tree for their emergency. A call tree, that's, you know, if this specific disaster occurs, we call this person, and it kind of branches out from there. They let this person know this, and so call tree, very simple. They've already put it in place, again, before we left. And then lastly, testing. And that's just, and I sympathize with the colleges. It's just a timing thing, but these tests, that it doesn't have to be a complete mock-up. You can do a tabletop exercise. And again, we gave them some documentation to work through. You can call a meeting and in an hour go through a tabletop exercise on these different aspects of your disaster recovery plan, and just kind of, it might highlight an area where you say, okay, well, we need to strengthen this because the test was kind of, we weren't sure what the next step was. One thing I want to point out here, we did this project at Fletcher in the fall, and now we've done it at Nunez, and we saw similar issues. So what I'm having my staff do is we're going to put a kind of a Q&A, FAQ, whatever you want to call it, one sheet, highlight these areas. And that way, because I do plan to get to every college, but we're doing about 2 a year rather than wait. Get this information to them now, because I find if one college is having an issue, it's probably happening at others. So I'm going to get that out. We'll have that out before the next meeting. And I think that'll be a big benefit to our colleges. And then when we do go to there, you'll probably see the reports that we produce will have less suggestions for the college to go forward. Any questions about disaster recovery at Nunez or in general?
Very lengthy report.
Yeah, it's a bear. It's something I've been putting off for years, but now that we're doing it, I see the benefits and I feel great about it. Last project or report that we issued, we're mandated to do these purchase and travel card reviews. We try to do one a quarter. Office of State Travel will write up our colleges if we don't do these. So I will lose sleep at night if one of our colleges gets a finding because of internal audit. So we're going to be doing these. This time it was the LCTCS system office. I'm happy to report no findings. I don't know if you've been keeping track, the findings and really no findings reports have gotten better. I think our colleges have really gotten a handle on these processes. When we switched from the paper to the electronic, and this is all on an electronic system, we saw more issues, but now over the years, I think the last 3 reports we've issued have had no findings. So I expect that trend to continue.
It's been out there a while.
Yes, that's all I have as far as issued reports since we last met. I do want to briefly discuss some projects that we're currently working on, and you can anticipate seeing those issued in the near future, and then we'll discuss them in August when we meet. First one is elected officials. What this project is, as you know, if you hold a public position, if you work for DOTD, you can't also hold a public office position. But in the law, there's an exception for higher ed. And so we're higher ed, so our employees are allowed to hold elected official positions. With that comes some checks and balances that I want to make sure that we're following. There's paperwork. We want to make sure their time is being spent where they say it's being spent. If you have elected official duties, make sure you're taking the proper leave. We've already seen, since starting this, we've already seen some paperwork come in. So, it reminds folks, hey, we need to dot the I's and cross the T's. We only have 7 elected officials in our system currently. When I came to LCTCS in 2008, this was one of the first projects I did, and we had 25 or so. It took several months to get through, but we're dwindling down. We don't have any state legislators. It's mostly school board. I think we have an alderman, a constable. Those are the type of positions we're seeing. But we don't see any issues. But again, that report will come out probably next month. Any questions about that? Elected officials. And one thing I want to note about elected officials, this is something we used to do annually. But now that we have less folks, I've been trying to do it maybe 3 or 4 years, just to let the folks know we're looking. Sometimes that's the best control is, I always use the example, if a bank wants to save money, they can just put a fake camera over the teller. The teller doesn't know, nobody's looking, but just the thought of that camera there, same thing with this. If they know, hey, they do check my time, they do make sure I'm following the proper paperwork, I need to be above board with this. Lastly, the last project we have in progress now, I'm calling this financial aid policies and procedures. This is going to be a system-wide project. This is something Dr. Amy Cable and I have been working on together. The feedback I got from her is a lot of the issues or questions, I should say, that she gets all relate to a weak policy or procedure, or not up-to-date policy or procedure, I should say, better term than weak. This is just going to be a review of where their policies are. She's already provided me with documentation to provide them in specific areas where we find need updates or strengthening. And also this could lead to a situation where we have more uniformity across the system related to financial aid policies and procedures, because you'll find a lot of the colleges do have totally different processes. And that can lead to issues as well from the system office support perspective, because you have to know 6 or 7 processes. It limits a system office ability to help you quickly, and also across colleges. When you have situations where you have massive turnover, if your policies and procedures are totally different, that another college might not be able to provide help because it's speaking 2 different languages. So we have not fleshed out exactly what this project looks like, but be assured it'll be worth our time and yours, and that'll be presented at the August committee meeting. That's as far as we've got with in progress reports. You want to go to the next item?
Yes, it would be the legislative.
Oh no, it's going to be the chart. Yeah. Yeah, the next item is for our charter. This is just a little bit of housekeeping. The Institute of Internal Auditors, which we follow their standards and guidelines, came up with a great idea to do a massive overhaul on their procedures. So we have been having to adjust our policies, procedures, our manual, and our charter to it's mostly a language alignment. And our charter has to be updated, and since the charter has to be updated, it has to be approved by the committee. Like I said, it's mostly language, but I do want to point out one specific thing the charter has added, and because it involves this committee, is the part of the director's review, annual review. The IA suggests that, along with Dr. Sullivan, which we currently do, that the committee have a part in my annual review. So, which is great for me. So not only does he tell me I'm doing such a great job, you get to as well. So that's the only, like I said, most of the charter is just, it's language updates, but that's really a substantive change that we've added in there. So is there any questions?
So you're gonna make that recommendation to the board that
Yes.
change takes place.
So staff recommends that the audit committee of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors approve the internal audit charter April 2025 revision as presented by the internal audit director to be effective upon approval.
So you heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to implement that for this committee?
Moved by Supervisor Hall. Seconded by Supervisor Mears.
Okay, any discussion? Any dissension? Hearing none, then the motion in this committee carries. Thank you.
Next is we're going to discuss some external reports. These are the legislative auditor reports that have been issued since we last met in December. We've had a good bit. 5 reports have been issued. I'm happy to report that Northwest, Delgado, SLCC, and BRCC have received legislative audit reports with no findings. So I'm happy to read that. Bossier Parish, we did have a almost clean report. We had one minor issue. The legislative auditor noted control weaknesses over bank reconciliations. Now, this was just a timeliness issue. The college had a lot of turnover. bank reconciliations kind of fell by the wayside, but the auditors note that when the college caught up on the bank recs, there were no issues. So there wasn't any type of misrepresentation. Chancellor's here if you want to add anything to that.
Just thank you for the opportunity to provide a little bit of context, and I know that Jeff mentioned that this was a minor finding, but we take this very seriously. We understand the importance of accurate and timely bank reconciliations. We did find out that there was a problem and we reported it. We did self-report it to the auditor. Our hope was that in doing so and demonstrating that we've taken steps to address it, that they would make it a recommendation or at least include in their report that we self-reported, and we're disappointed when they didn't do that. But we have staffed all of our business office staff positions now with some really great folks, and we are caught up. We've instituted some reforms. We do daily checks of bank reconciliations now. We've adjusted a policy, an internal policy about making the 15th of the month the cutoff, the deadline for the previous month's books. And the last several months they've been doing it 10 days, but closer to 10 days than 15 days. So we feel like these are reforms that are gonna hold and that this won't be an issue moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So again, tremendous work by our colleges. The legislative audits, that is hard work, and to have 5 and just have the one finding is, our colleges need to be commended. Let's see, other business I want to mention, we only have a few here, so tell your friends, board financial disclosures are due May 15th. I'll still hound you a few more times for it. In fact, we probably have an email, nicely worded email due pretty soon from my office. But get those financial disclosures in. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. I'll be happy to look over them. I can even hand deliver them to the ethics if you'd like. Just make sure time frame wise, we're not butting up against that May 15th date. But in the email, there's a FAQ. The forms will be there. The forms have not changed. There might be a few minor formatting changes, but there's nothing substantive. So if you did them last year, use that as your template for this year. Nothing has changed. Other than that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. By the way, are you in touch with everyone on the financial disclosure? How are
Jeff
we,
and I will tag team on that.
how are we doing?
You're doing great, actually. Everyone is turning them in on time, and then Jeff and I, we get in probably the 2 weeks leading up and just make sure all the loose ends are tied up, but everyone's doing great.
We're trainable. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, the next item would be to review the legislative audit report. Mr. Fleming, would you handle that?
We got it. Yeah. Done.
Okay. So I just wanted to cover that. It was done.
Yes.
All right, is there any questions or other business to come before this committee?
I'd like to note that no other public comments have been submitted.
Okay, Dr. Sullivan, would you want to make any comments, sir? Okay, well, it seems like that pretty much wraps us up. There's no public comments, then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion by Supervisor Hall, seconded by Supervisor Johnson.
Right. Put your kids on the side.
You see?